Andy Austin here to give you a quick tour of the Historia Illius Itineris. This is the website for the metaphysical, the esoteric, the weird, the wonderful, the wacky, the woo-woo aspects of metaphors of movement. This is all the work that I can't include in the workshops, simply because it's too hard to teach on a standard workshop setting. This is the material that requires repeated study. It is also sort of a little bit left field, and it goes into areas that is really outside of the therapeutic applications that I tend to use within the metaphors of movement work. So let's go over to the website and have a little look here. So let's give you a little tour of the site. What we have here along the top menu is the public pages, or are the public pages, and on the right hand menu here are some other public pages which you will probably have already seen. If you haven't seen them, do have a read through. It gives you the history, the intention, the purpose, basically what is this thing all about. Now, many people have been worried about this work because is it a cult? Is it mystical? Does it conflict with moral values? Has Austin gone mad? What's he going to do to us? And all of those things. Essentially, this is little more than a practical study of esoteric archetypes, symbolisms that go back through millennia. These are the things that have shaped the human lexicons of language, the symbols by which we communicate, the way that we understand stuff. Now, a lot of those things are encoded in world religions and mythologies and stories that get passed down. I'm not a particularly religious person, but I do know that the religious stories are the ones of greatest influence. There's great movies that have been made. We've had lots of Pixar movies, for example, that will become classics to kids when they are older. They will be the iconic movies from their childhood. And some of those stories will be absorbed into culture. But the religious stories that were grouped together in the holy books, these were the really archetypal stories. You can find the roots of these in way back in history, so into ancient Egypt and beyond. And a lot of the stories just keep evolving. They're essentially the same story, just retold again and again and again. So this is hero's journey type territory, but applied to much greater stories with a greater scope. Now, the other thing that we recognized was that the metaphors that people describe, which are being described by people who don't know these stories, the symbolisms and features within their metaphor became very recognizable when you know these archetypes. And that's what caught my attention. So that's what began this particular body of work. Now, what I tried to do in the early days was put something together that would enable people to have a practical, like a psychodrama experience. So this is embodied cognition done through drama, otherwise known as a ritual. The problem with that word ritual is it frightens everybody. They think of sacrifices and knives and virgins and all sorts of crazy stuff. Unfortunately, it's not that exciting. This is an academic study. I'm sorry sorry if that upsets anybody or disappoints anyone. So here's what we got. So we have the public pages at the top there. Do have a look through those if you've not already had a look through. They will give you additional information that I'm not covering in this video. Then as we come down, we've got pages for new members. You need to be logged in. You need to be a signed up member. Obviously, we're now taking distant members so you can work remotely rather than rely on having a local group. It's simply a practical thing. We don't have enough members in any one geographical location to be able to run the practical groups that I have intended. Hopefully, as more people join, that situation will change as time goes on. So I'm already logged in here. I'm logged in as admin, so the screen looks slightly different. The thing at the top there you wouldn't necessarily have. If I just take you through some of the pages here. So this is the first page. This is the welcome page, which just gives you our simple rules for being a member. These are, I'll just go through them. No member may publicly identify any other member of the Historia in any capacity, not even indirectly or in jest. All members are free to identify themselves as being an official member in any capacity that they wish. No member may deny another person's claim to membership, even if they are not in fact a member. All members are permitted to use the logos or images of the Historia upon request. This permission ceases should you discontinue your membership. And all material of the Historia is subject to the non-disclosure agreement, which may not be shared in any form outside of the order. Now, why did I do a non-disclosure agreement? It's really simple. Everything I have ever done very quickly gets ripped off by another NLPer, they're always NLPers, who have modelled the work and then very quickly claim that they came up with it themselves. The coincidence, they come on one of my training courses, they buy one of my products, and within a month, it's amazing. They've suddenly discovered something that they've always known. They just didn't know it before then. So, tired of all that, a lot of this material is stuff that I don't want ripped off, simply because the complexity of it will be taught badly, it will be misunderstood, and then it will be sold as a representation of something that I'm doing, and it won't be what I'm doing. So hence the non-disclosure. So essentially all I'm asking is that when people join, they don't rip off the material. And should they rip off the material, I will have legal recourse to do something about that. And then there's some rules about if you're running a study group in your own living room and all the rest of it, how do you do that and what are the rules that you apply? So within the welcome pages there's a whole bunch of additional information that if you're setting up a group, if you're running one of the study groups, then this is how you do it, this is the material. Now we have, if we come down to the second section here, the first degree study papers. Ideally, what I organised was that there would be 10 meetings per year per group, and each meeting you're going through one of the study papers. Here is a list of the study papers. They're all available online. They're all available on the website here, not to be shared. I just emphasise that point. And they'll take you through things. So I just click on this one here, the golden ratio. This opens up as a PDF, and then you can see we have a study paper here which then goes through how the golden ratio is in turn applied to metaphor constructs and experiential metaphor, and then what we can do with that information. We're looking at things like information distribution, information density, and symmetry. So basically how balanced is the metaphor. And so information distribution. This is stuff we don't actually teach on any of the metaphors courses. Because of the complexity of it, it's not something where I can stand up in front of the group, present the information, off you go, do an exercise, and then you'll understand it. It's one of those things that you need to look at repeatedly, preferably in a regular study group if possible, or we have the online forums, in order to actually understand and get an in-depth understanding of this. This is not a body of work where you just collect the certificate and say, yes, I'm a master of it. I've done my masters. No. This is for own personal development and own personal study. So if I just click on the patchworking one, this is the required piece of work in order to progress up the ranks, so to speak. So go from the first degree to the second degree. There's two pieces of work that members need to produce. There's a patchworking, and the patchworking guidelines here is written out with a sample for you. And you also need to produce an additional piece of work, which is anything you like. Anything. I just want something that is useful to other people to use. Something you know something about that other members would benefit from. That then in turn gets uploaded to the website, and so we continuously expand and develop the material that's available. And this is why the website is getting so big and we have so much material on here. There's a lot of stuff here. You're not going to cover this in an afternoon. There's so much work here. So these are the basic study papers that you can see right here. Most of the pages have a comment section should you need to ask any questions or leave a comment on the page, give any feedback, or if you discover an error on the particular on any of the pages. What I've also done is I've enabled video and images to be added, only up to 8 megabyte. So if you want to put a video response in, that kind of stuff, just reduce the file size down or upload it to a third-party site like YouTube and then embed it. So again, we have lots of scope for people to add new material. So those are the study papers, and that's all just on that page there. If we come down to the first degree ritual explanation, so now the members who haven't done the ritual, haven't done the initiations, this won't necessarily make a great deal of sense because you don't have the reference point. However, this does give you the structure of the layout of the room in which we do the initiation and the logic of what we're doing here. And essentially what we've done with this is create an archetypal metaphor. I'm not going to reveal to you on this particular video what you see within that ceremonial room undergoing the psychodrama, but basically this is the structure of that and the rationale for it. This is something that we can easily discuss in the study groups or on the online webinars for members. We're using here core archetype stuff from both religion and mysticism and ritualistic practices that are used worldwide by all populations across all ages. So these are the archetypal details that they all tend to have in common, and we get rid of all the rest of it. And we put this into a metaphors of movement framework. And so the explanation for that is given there. And in that particular video, I'll just give you a quick little insight. So there I am, and giving you the structure of the ceremony, and at some point I'm in the ceremonial rooms where I show you how the whole thing is set up. That's all stuff I want to keep confidential. The reason being, for people who haven't joined, if they already know what the psychodrama is, the ritual is, there's no point in them then doing it, because it's then just an academic exercise. What we want to do is to give you a first-hand experience, and it's a fun thing. It's not a scary thing. It's nothing that's going to be embarrassing to anyone or anything like that. The whole thing is done with a little bit of comedy. Those who know my background and my work, you'll understand the kind of style. It's going to have a sense of theatre, and it's going to have a sense of the ridiculousness to it. But the idea is it makes some serious points. It conveys some useful information that can't be given verbally. And I could just tell you the information, but it won't make sense. What we can do is give you an actual experience of the very thing itself that we're referring to. What I want to have at some point is that every member has both undergone it and has assisted in delivering it at least 3 times, because that way, through the repetition of this drama, it will make more and more sense as time goes on. So that's that one there. If I just come down to another thing on the right hand side. So if we go down to cast of characters. So there's a number of characters that are actually portrayed within the psychodrama. With repetition, you would play each of these characters, where you essentially do a deep trance association into these particular characters, and it will make a lot of sense when you see the videos of the setup of what's going on here. Which this is one of the problems we've had with not having enough members in one place, because we need essentially 5 participants to run these initiations, and obviously the more members we have, the easier that gets. So then on the first degree study paper section, there's quite a few bits and pieces here of additional information. Just go down to the compass to see what we've got there. So there's an explanation here of the different directions, how that conveys to elements and time, and lots of other components too. And so that's on that page. This is a really key part of the whole Historia. This is one of the central pieces of which everything else is built around. And so there's a lot of stuff there that's well worth doing a study on repeatedly within the study groups, or as I say, on the online study groups there. This will give you such in-depth knowledge of metaphors and the metaphorical domain through which we are mentally moving all the time, or not, as the case may be. This will be quite transformational for many of you. Then we've got the forums there. People prefer to use the online Facebook forum rather than this one. This has the advantage that you can upload stuff and it stays on the website. Whereas on the Facebook pages, they're set to private, so non-members can't see. They tend to disappear after time as they drop down the listing. But on these forums, because of the way they're organized, I'll just show you quickly. We have these things set up here, so there's different groups, and then you can access the archives of what other members have posted too. And this is also a good place to have debate, argument, conversation around different concepts. If there's stuff that's related or of interest to people, you can bring that into. So just the study papers alone, that was designed really to give people doing the first degree study papers about a year's worth of study. It's not something, as I say, you just do the once. You spend a lot of time looking at this information because of the depth and the information density of the work that we're looking at. Right, then we just got the admin links there. Now come down to the body of knowledge. So the body of knowledge is the ancillary stuff. I've added most of this in here. We have a number of other writers and members who are adding stuff in here too. So this is user-created content of archetypal nature, looking at key stories that have influenced culture. And this is just, what we've got here is huge. So we look at this one. It's a video that I put up around the tarot card, the Tower. For those that have done the level 3 training, you will recognize that the symbolism of the tower is the structure of metaphors of movement level 3. And there's a detailed explanation as to why that is and how that is. At no point with the tarot work are we looking at divination or fortune telling. That does not feature in this work at all. We're looking at where did these symbols originate from, why are they so important, and how have they been so influential. Okay, if we just come to the webinars page, this is just a whole bunch of webinars that we've done on various bits and pieces. So this is just the audio of these. That should keep you busy for quite a while. And then we come down, if I just click on randomly on Geo Centricity here. Here is, we've got another little video, just have a little look at me there. So a presentation on Geo Centricity, and essentially, when you've elicited a metaphor from a person, and you move them physically, so they take physical steps in the room, what happens to the metaphor? Does it stay where it is geocentrically, or does it move with them? And there's a particular set of relationships that go on there, which has been recognized throughout millennia. The Thelemic model of the universe, which there's a diagram here, actually demonstrates this very principle that we find that occurs within metaphor. So what we've got is a whole bunch of stuff in the metaphors of movement work that has emerged through exploring people's metaphors therapeutically and in training rooms, that just so happens to match some archetypal stuff. And in this one, it actually refers to a particular astrological model, and the Earth being at the center of the solar system. Obviously, that's not quite correct. However, metaphorically, it aligns perfectly, even though the science is completely separate and contradictory. If we just look what else, so we've got all of these articles here you see on the right hand side, looking at Hindu gods and archetypes, looking at ancient Egyptians. We've got Roman and Greek in there as well. There's just lots and lots of stuff. I've started adding stuff in as well around Kabbalah, so the Western magical tradition, and then we've got Arini from Romania, who is also giving us lots of very detailed and very authoritative articles, which are well worth a study. I've got to say, Arini is one of these geniuses in terms of his knowledge of mystical and religious archetypes. And so he supplies us quite a lengthy and detailed article every month, which goes up on the site. And his work, you might need an encyclopedia or Wikipedia and look up a lot of his references because of the information density. It's well worth a study here. So that's the main site, and that will take you, I say, that's going to be a lot of work to work through. So this is going to keep you busy all the way through the current isolation drama period and beyond. So what else have we got? We also have the tarot section. Now, this is a massive piece of work. At the moment, I've only got the first 22 cards, and these are the tarot trumps, and we're going through all of the symbolism within those tarot trumps, what they apply to, where they originate from, how does that, what's the point of that then? So we're doing metaphors. Well, these are some archetypal metaphors that permeate through all human cultures, through all corners of the earth throughout history. Now, I've got to emphasize the point here. This is not about divination. This is not about fortune telling. This is not about, what's the card for the day. I have no interest at all in any of that nonsense. I regard it as complete nonsense. So if I just we'll just pick on a random one here. If we go for the Emperor. So we've got an audio description going up the top there. That's about 17 minutes long. There's a description and visual representation of the card. We're using Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck simply because I think he's got the most visually impressive deck, and he restored a lot of the archetypal symbolism to the images, whereas a lot of the cards produced over the years have been done because they just look pretty, and the new age stuff crept in. So Crowley really restored it back to core archetypes. And I give a lot of descriptions from and explanations of his descriptions of the cards to the Book of Thoth, which is something I would recommend you get. And what we see here is the Emperor card is pretty much the archetype of the red shoes, of Aries, of the color red. We even find the whole thing appearing in Kate Bush's video, The Red Shoes. We have it in the Jesus as the Lamb. The red color is key here, and it recurs everywhere. This is an archetype that you find permeating absolutely everywhere. It is about rulership, it is about kingship, or here queenship, and so on. It's the same detail again and again and again, hidden in plain sight. It is simply an expression from human consciousness, and it's everywhere. Look at that. You even find it in Santa Claus, and on and on and on. Even find it in a Bruce Springsteen video. So that's the stuff we have with the tarot. I'll just give you another one so you can have a quick look. And what should we have a look at here? Let's go for temperance or art. Again, I put an audio on there for you, description of the card and all the key features to be looking out for, and then how that then connects to alchemy, which was the operating metaphor of science for how long was that before it got replaced under the Industrial Revolution. And today we have the computer science metaphor, but back then it was chemistry in its old form as alchemy. And then we find the archetypes that still permeate all the way through culture today and are represented in the tarot cards. So the tarot course will keep you busy for quite a long time, I suspect. I would recommend you get the book and the deck of cards too. Now, just also so you know, we are constantly adding, the members are constantly adding new material as it gets written. I'm constantly adding new material. This summer, I'm going to be going through the other court cards. So the rest of the tarot deck, that's going to take me quite a bit of time, and we'll get that uploaded. We're also beginning to look at some of the astrological correspondences too. Why astrology? Well, the days of the week, named after the 7 planets. You have your 12 months of the year. You have your 12 disciples. Everything we do is defined by astrology. The days of the week are named after planets. Saturday or Saturn Day is the day that we tend to have off. We tend to do sporting activities on that day. Different cultures obviously have some variances here. So these are key things that certain astrological concepts have directly shaped even how we work. That Monday morning feeling, well, Monday is Moon Day, and that Monday morning feeling happens on Moon Day. And there's lots of stuff around this. So the core archetypes and the core metaphors by which we organize our lives, we organize our families, your birthday, we say many happy returns. The return is a solar return, it's a journey around the sun, and so on. So it's so much here. It's a constantly evolving, adding more stuff. As I learn more stuff, I'm putting it on here, and so forth. So none of this material that's on this site is taught anywhere in the Metaphors of Movement levels. It's not on any of the other Metaphors membership sites. So if you want to join, it's ever so easy. You simply just click on membership application. If I click it, it won't take you to the sign up page because obviously I'm already signed in. You can sign up via there. It's an annual subscription. You can cancel it at any time. Then just send me an email and I will get you added to the Facebook page as well. And then you can get started. As I say, this is going to keep you really busy for a long time, and it will expand your abilities and knowledge within dealing with metaphors and a lot of the other stuff that you could use therapeutically or for personal development. This is huge. Sign up. If you've got any questions, whatever, leave a comment below or send me an email and I'll see what I can do.